Hello, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to this session solving tactics on chesstempo.com with the advocate. I think this is still the 1300 to 1400. Yeah, this is 1300 to 1400 set. I'm going to do this problem and then I'll switch up to 1500. This problem looks like a simple deflection with h5 check. Because none of the knight checks are working. There's only one knight check. And bishop takes f5 check, knight e7 check is just losing a piece. So yeah, I'm going to go for h5. And bishop takes f5. I hope you guys are doing well today. I hope everyone is, I don't know, having a chill day. It's my birthday, the 21st of March, first day of spring. It's been a super good morning today. Oh, damn it. Whoops. Rook takes h7, king takes h7, queen check, king g7. No. Yeah. Rook takes h7, king takes h7, queen h4 check, king g7, and then rook g6 checkmate. So rook h7, king h7, queen h4 check, king. Yeah, the only move is king g7. There is no king g8. You don't even have to calculate that line. Okay. Nice. All right, so let's change the set to 1400, 1500. I can take. Or I can check. Yeah, I can check king h8. I can check king h8 or king f7. If king h8, pawn takes check. Not sure how winning that really is the problem. Check, king h8, pawn takes check, king takes. I am threatening knight f5, but I can't take on f8 because of, first of all, there's queen takes e1. So alternative moves, don't really see it. What about pawn check? Yeah, okay, f7 check, rook takes, then rook e8 check would be mate. With either one, rook f1. Petrosian, Tigran Petrosian, with the black pieces here. Common mistakes in this position, knight e7 check. Yeah, knight e7 check. Uh, the order of my line calculation was first I was thinking takes, takes, and 97 check. Those were all my candidate moves. Actually, f7 was the last line that I considered once I found that those weren't working. But yeah, 97 check and king f7 and king h8, and there's not really much going on. And you're down a queen. Difficult position. Bishop f7, bishop f3 are kind of the moves that I'm looking at for the moment. I mean, it is a mixed problem set, so maybe I'm getting a defensive problem. Bishop f7, rook d7, knight takes check, rook takes f5, king g6, losing a piece. What a weird problem. Nothing really stands out. The king is very suspect. The king is a little suspect. Okay, so, oh, the king doesn't have the g6 square. So bishop here, rook d7, knight takes check, rook takes, but that's just a pawn. And the king doesn't have g6 because the bishop on f7 is covering that square. So there's no fork, no double attack. Bishop f7, that's it. Remove the defender. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. So bishop f7. I mean, it's winning the exchange, right? Bishop f7, rook d7, knight takes check. And now, if... Yeah, so it would win the exchange. Okay, yeah. Bishop f7 wins the exchange. And here I'm just going to take and then go back with the bishop. Because it's a checkmate if you move, not a checkmate, but it's the exchange is forced. You're forced to give up the exchange because the king doesn't have g7. The king has nowhere to go. And this is the line. I wouldn't go to here. I would probably go here. Just feels like a more safe square, but to each their own. Mistakes made in this position, bishop f3. Yeah, bishop f3 is more of the same, but it cuts off the connection to f5, right? So now you're blocking your attack on f5, which is why f7. I'm pretty certain that people are playing this bishop f3 instead of bishop f7 because they aren't seeing that in this position king g6 is not possible. If king g6 were possible, you would lose a piece here. For example, if this were a knight somehow, if the knight had come there with check, then king g6 would clear a piece. I mean, not actually, because you would have this check and blah 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 blah. But you can sort of see how someone would miscalculate that, and I totally get that. This queen is stopping checkmate on b7. But if I give rook d8, check. I mean, there's queen takes f, but then queen e1 checkmate. Queen takes f6, not working. No quiet moves. No quiet moves. All right, so rook d8 check, king c7, queen c6 check, king takes d8, queen d7 checkmate. Rook d8 check, king a7, rook takes a7 check, king b6, queen c6 check, king a5, king a5, rook takes a6 mate. Is it faster to take with the queen or with the rook? I've obviously calculated the rook mate, but queen check, king here. Nah, just take with the rook. Queen f4 check, most common mistake in this position. Queen f4. Yeah, queen f4. But the problem with queen f4 is this here, I think. Or king c8. Yeah, just king c8. This knight check, or this knight check. Or should I take? What about knight takes here, check, and then just mate? Knight takes check, pawn takes, queen takes his mate. I don't really understand the last move. Doesn't really make sense. Queen f6 was probably a better move. But yeah, knight takes g6 check. And anywhere the king goes, if the king moves, I'm going to take on g7 with mates. And if the pawn takes, I'll take on g7 with mates. This is a real game. So weird. I mean, black isn't without threats, like f2 check, like e takes f2 check does come with a serious spanker, but most common mistake is knight f7 check. The problem with knight f7 check is that rook takes f7 covers g7. So I'm looking at rook takes g7s. That rook is pinned. I could take, pawn takes, knight takes, and I'm up the exchange, no? Queen takes, pawn takes. Queen takes, pawn takes, knight takes, and I'm a rook and a rook against two knights and a rook. So I'm currently down material, yeah? I'm currently down a knight. Hmm. Queen takes, pawn takes, knight takes, rook takes b7. Don't know if it's sufficient compensation. I mean, it looks like it's sufficient because of the kingside pawns, the active rook on the 7th rank. I'm threatening rook c7 to win the e7 pawn. Um, but very unclear. I'd prefer a direct checkmate or outright win of material. What about queen c4? No. Queen c4, rook takes. I mean, knight c7 check, but I am down a rook in that position already. Difficult problem. Trying to figure out any better solution other than queen takes f6, pawn takes f6. Queen takes f6, pawn takes f6, knight takes g7, knight takes g7. Rook takes b7, and I'm on the g7 knight. Ah, it's indefensible. He can't defend the g7. Okay, all right, that's the point. Oh, he took with the knight instead of the pawn. So let's take with check and then take on b7. Yeah, okay, I missed the clearance of b7 after rook take. I forgot the e7 pawn had taken. So the idea goes boom, 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 boom. And this can't be saved. No. There's no way to defend g7. That's a little bit deep. Rook takes g7 check, most common mistake. So rook takes g7. Rook takes g7 check, knight takes g7. You have nothing. You're down a piece. I think that black can simplify in good conscience here. Okay, black to move. There's only one square, no? The only place I can go is g8. Alright, so rook g8, rook g7 check, rook f8, rook h7, rook e8, rook check, rook d7. Or I'm sorry, king d7. So g8 check, rook g7 check, king f8, rook h7 threatening mate, king e8, and if rook h8 check, king d8, king d7. I'm obviously threatening checkmate, king e7. What's that doing? Clearing away for h6, h7, h8. a2, h6, a1, h7. h1, h8 queens. Queens takes b5. Frank Marshall with the black pieces. Wonder what... there are a lot of alternate moves here. Rook a8 is an alternate, which I profoundly dislike. Why would you do that to yourself? Huh. So if knight takes, rook takes, I'm on g7. Trying to see how I can make that work. What about knight e7 check, rook, knight e7 check, forking the queen and the king? Rook takes e7, rook takes e7. That seems a bit simpler. Yeah, I couldn't see anything working in lines with queen g3. So most common mistake here is knight takes d6. So yeah, knight takes d6 was definitely one of my first ideas because now your rook is cleared against g7, but you need to set up some sort of attack. So I was trying to find some sort of double attack. For example, with queen g3 and no pawn on e5, this would be way more interesting because now this queen is attacking d6 and also hitting g7. Black has to figure out some sort of defense. Obviously, there's a very adequate defense in the form of rook d7, but it's an idea. I was also trying to get bishop c5 to work, but yeah, just the simple knight fork is better. Queen check picks up a piece. Not seeing anything better. There's no checkmate, so... And I like this position because There's no black dark squared bishop to contest this outpost on d4. All right, I actually have to go to the bathroom. Too much coffee. So I'm going to call this session to an end. Thank you so much for being here with me today on my birthday. And I hope that you guys learned as much from this video as I did. Take care of yourselves and good luck with your chess journey. Bye-bye.